Hi once again, everybody, and welcome back into the fastest show in sports, back after about a 10-year absence. My minions, my miscreants, my malcontents, my muckrakers, and everybody else, let's put them all together again. I am your host, I am your ringmaster, Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us both on YouTube and on podcast. Joining the trio today, first of all, raconteur, author, sports guy. Mike Wise has got so many things that he's done. I'm going to let him tell us in just a minute. But next to him, of course, is the voice of ESPN Radio Sports, my other redhead. But it's okay. You were there. You're not there now, but you are still, as far as I'm concerned, the voice of ESPN Radio Sports.
Thank you. I like that. Thank you.
I put you there. Just leave it right there. That's right. Kevin Winter, the other redhead. We've been together for about 20 some odd years.
30.
I 30 some odd. It's been 20 something.
I graduated college in 95 and high school in 95.
Well, we didn't go on the air with Sports Pulse until 2003.
News Sport. I met you at News Sport.
Okay. News Sport back in. Okay, that's right. But you weren't on the air then. You were on the air in the 2000s. Okay. I actually rescued Kevin from a circus in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where he was spending time trying desperately to learn how to juggle. And he had nobody, so I brought him in and I made him part of the show.
He was a carny.
Well, well, wait a minute. You're going to start something else here, because aren't we all carnies when we're working in this damn business? I mean, if you think about it, we're all carnival workers. So, Mike, I will just start off by saying this. I am not a college basketball fan. I'm just not. It doesn't excite me. I mean, I watch it. They're great athletes. I get into it. So when I watch the game, I don't look at it from a fan perspective. I don't have any money gambled on it. Although, Kevin takes care of all the gambling for us, and he is the inveterate gambler. But it was a fun game to watch. And I got to tell you, because Saturday we were out for my birthday and we were out at dinner. And
by the way, belated.
Sorry,
belated.
Belated happy birthday. That's fine. Yeah. We were out watching, and the game, of course, was on because we're in Florida, so everybody had the Gator game on. And when the Gators fell behind by double digits, I looked at Lady Shannon and I said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's college basketball. They'll be back." I had no doubt it was going to go down to the wire, and it did again. The Gators are the best team. I mean, look. I don't know. You guys are probably more into the college basketball side than I am, and we'll get into a couple of things here in a minute. But what I saw was a Gators team in the second half that just manned up, got tougher on defense, played better, and a Houston team that went in the tank. I mean, all of a sudden, Houston became Duke. Out of nowhere. And the fact Houston couldn't get off a shot in the last couple seconds was ridiculous. The team's supposed to be better coached than that. But anyway, that's just me. Congratulations to the Gators and all my Gator fans.
Yeah.
Mike, here's. Go ahead. I'll let you go, Mike.
No, Kev, you go ahead. Go ahead, Kev.
Well, here's what I like, Ed, about college basketball. Number one, I do gamble the snot out of it, especially at the tournament time. But let's leave that aside. I like the fact that nowadays we don't have as many kids doing the one and done. And what that means is, and even though we do have kids do one and done, not as many, though we do have kids doing one and done, I know Cooper, I know the stars are there, but the teams that win are not the one and dones. Teams that win championships now are the teams that stay together and have veteran players. I like that. That's the part.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I want you to get in here.
No, that's a good point. This was sort of a real referendum on whether the NIL system works or not. It's just starting now, where their name, image, and likeness are paying players. But it was kind of depressing that for the first time since, maybe 2008, and before that, 1985, all number one seeds advanced. And the other thing was, in the Sweet 16, there wasn't a single non-power conference school in the Sweet 16. And the whole, the beauty.
Yeah, the beauty, like you said.
Wait a minute. But you guys are making my point for me here, Kevin, because I'm sitting here as you're going on talking about the no more one and dones. This is now the land of one and dones. because thanks to NIL, you move on anywhere you want. Look, we've got entire teams in college basketball now that are bailing out and going somewhere else because they didn't win. And what you have now is a system where you will have the big guns, you have the main teams, the number one seeds, but the ones that have a lot of money. There's only 20 or 30 of them in the United States now, great college programs. They run. There's no Cinderellas anymore. This is a pro league. This is professional basketball. And right now we're in the middle of the lawsuit, the House lawsuit and the legislation with the NCAA. That's what, $2.8 billion in a lawsuit? And that's pretty much going to be settled soon. Yeah. And it's going to create, once again, pro teams. So don't tell me guys aren't one and doneing here. They're going where the money is.
One and done, going to the NBA. You're still going to see these kids in college.
Well, they don't have to because they can make more money in college.
I agree. But what I'm actually anticipating and what I hope happens is you then sign these kids to a deal. We're going to sign you to a 4-year deal to play basketball at Kentucky or Duke or Kansas or hell, maybe Middle America, maybe small market or
never happened. Never happened.
All right, fine. They're going to the big schools.
They have to because the little schools can't afford it. They don't have that kind of jing.
Well,
but why don't I don't know. The NCAA seems like it's outlived its usefulness. I mean, it really is a professional league now, and they've always, these guys, even the guys who didn't get paid, I always felt bad. Like when I would see a headline, Chris Webber got paid at Michigan. Oh my God! Like now I'm like the headline should be. The headline before NIL should have been, this guy didn't get paid, and he was really good.
Well, that's just the point. That's the point of the House lawsuit, and the NCAA is a paper tiger. Look, the NCAA is around anymore just to take care of swimming, table tennis, intramural golf, and anything else that's not basketball, football, and probably soon to be, I'm trying to think of which one comes next, whether it's hockey or baseball.
Ice hockey or wrestling.
Ice hockey or wrestling. I won't have no wrestling. But I mean, it's a professional league right now. That's probably one of the reasons why I don't get into it, because all it is, it's the NBA light. And I'm not a big basketball fan to begin with.
It's funny. You almost have to have like a real allegiance to your school to be completely into it. I went to Fresno State. Well, I went to 3 schools in 6 years, but the last stop was Fresno State.
Couldn't hang around. They really didn't. You should. Those felony charges followed you everywhere, didn't they?
They did, and the restraining orders, it wasn't good, and so I eventually ended up on this program with you. So
I knew you'd bring it back there. Very nice. Okay, we're gonna follow that line for the rest of the day.
He did 3 schools in 6 years. I did 5.5. I did 5.5 years in 4.5 years. So it's good.
Here's the other thing, though. I mean, why don't we just be honest about it? The Final Four, the NCAA tournament, would not nearly be as big as it is today if it were not for gambling. End of story. I mean, people talk. It's the reason that people can gamble on it, they make money on it, and that's it. It's not. I hear what you're saying, Mike, about people loving their schools, and I got Gator fans who are great friends of mine who are celebrating today. They're coming back from San Antonio. They enjoyed everything they had about it, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is just a professional league, and it's just another NBA game, and it just doesn't. I miss Cinderella. I wish Cinderella was back again because that kept me involved, Kev.
Do you think Cinderella's dead?
Cinderella's dead.
Okay.
Cinderella's absolutely dead. I want you to write this down. You will not see a 16 seed in the NCAA men's basketball tournament go to the Sweet 16 ever again. It will not happen.
Look, I get that. And the fact that it happened, we had 2 16s ever beat a 1. And it happened, I think, in back-to-back years, something like that.
Yeah.
Or it was within recency. I thought that was a shock to begin with. You also had the idea. You had the right matchups when it happened. UMBC taking out Virginia because Virginia couldn't score more than 50 points a game that year. I mean, it was a right recipe. I understand what you're saying about the Cinderella in the Sweet 16. She's gone. But from a matchup, from an actual game standpoint, I liked, and I found it really hard, maybe from the gambling aspect this year. I look at this year's teams. I know, and there you go. I get it.
It's right. You're right back to the gambling. You're right back to the other side of this.
I also thought it was good basketball. I'll say, look, from the gambling aspect, trying to pick this year's winner, I thought was hard because you got the 1 seeds, you got some 2 seeds who are good. It's only the second time ever that we've had a Final Four with all 4 1 seeds. I think there are plenty of 2.
But it's number 1 seeds at this point with the NIL money behind it. The big money schools have the money. The Dukes, the Florida Gators, the Houstons, they have the money. The other schools don't have it.
Who are the number 2 seeds who lost? You had Tennessee losing. You had Alabama losing. I think Tennessee was a 2 or 3. I think those are the 2 seeds who were in the Elite Eight. You mean to tell me Tennessee and Alabama don't have money? Those teams could have won.
Well, no, Tennessee and Alabama has money. Mike, we're knocking this around about the money here. It's the schools that have money is where the players will go to because they have the NIL contracts. And look, now with the House settlement that's coming involved in other lawsuits, we are moving towards a salary cap in men's college basketball. It's going to happen. Yes?
That'd be interesting.
A salary cap. All I know is...
Well, it will. We're already there because the judges are already looking at it saying there's only so much money, and the teams are going, there's so much money. And even they're talking out loud about a salary cap. It will happen.
Well, now that March Madness is done, we literally have to pivot toward Mel Kiper 24/7 about the NFL draft. Get me a gun. I'm going to shoot myself. I mean, the guy's got, helmet and hair. I'm not Brad Pitt, obviously. I look more like Mr. Clean, but God bless America. I mean, this guy will prattle on about, I mean, this guy alphabetizes his colognes.
He's so made a fortune off it.
Hang on, Mike. I know. Mike, hold up. See, I'm the perfect guy for this because I am now removed from that environment. So I want it, and now guess what? I've gotten all my last paychecks, so I can go fucking off on these guys. Let me ask you a question here. Let me ask you a question here. They owe me nothing anymore. Let me ask you a question here. Is this Mel Kiper's fault, or is this all the people in charge who are lazy and just only glob onto the one thing and go for clickbait on television?
Well, but
every show.
Wait a minute, you can't just hit them all with clickbait because Kiper came up out of nowhere. He was the only guy doing it for a long time. I used to interview Mel when he had shorter hair, and it didn't look like a helmet. So I know when he started, and he was the only one doing it, and the gamblers flocked to it because they desperately wanted to know what was going on in the draft. And all of these nut job wing nuts who live, eat, sleep, die, breathe football, they glommed to him. So ESPN took him and stuck him out there in front of the cameras and said, do what you do, Mel, because it gets ratings and it makes us money. It's not necessarily their fault.
No, it was great Horatio Alger kind of story when it first happened. Now, grabbing Mel Kiper for a quick hit is like, it's not even going for a quick hit. It's going on an archaeological dig. Come on now, Ed. This guy is, I don't want to say he's old, but Jesus, I mean, he's got a Jesus Christ starter jacket, basically.
He is a dinosaur. It's okay, but look,
he's a dinosaur. But
he made a fortune.
But I think Kevin makes a great point. Kevin makes a great point. Why don't you get young, smart guys that are sort of the next Mel Kiper Juniors and bring them up? Chris Berman, God bless him. I mean,
well, we don't need them anymore. There are no Mel Kipers anymore because you have the internet. You have all these different websites and platforms. You've got a million people out there who basically con themselves into being called experts. So you've got so much information out there, Mike. You don't need a Mel Kiper anymore. All you have to do is take the name Mike Wise College Draft, stick it into Google, and you can come up with everything you need. You don't need anybody to sit there and tell you about it anymore.
Yeah. Chat GPT is going to replace us all eventually.
But
No,
even on the fastest show in
Chat
sport.
GPT can never have as good a hair as I have, buddy. So you can't replace me. So
yeah, we have three different hairstyles here. My point, Mike, being you're going to get beat over the head now for the next however many days. What is it? April 17th, I think, is the draft, something like that. For the next however many days, we're going to get beat over the head with it because that's all they want to show us. Maybe the next thing they're going to show us is a little bit of, and by the way, let's just go Sports Center. They're just going to show us a little bit of NBA, but every night there's going to be at least 3 draft segments on every Sports Center.
But it's what the public wants, Kevin.
But do they?
Yes. Yes. Every time you throw up an NFL draft special or somebody coughs and spits second-round draft choice or Mr. Irrelevant, people flock to it because they're desperate to know more about it. You're just feeding the animal is all.
I know. We've become a sucker society. We've become a lazy sucker society.
Well, yes. This is too much of a in the weeds journalism thing. But yeah, like why are we giving the public what they want? Like what happened when there was a newspaper and there was a reason classically trained journalists put the big story on the top of the fold. You didn't spearfish for, if we gave everybody what they wanted 25 years ago, Kardashians would be on the front page.
Which they are.
And all they've done is ruin the careers of everybody they've ever gone out with. Have you seen what they've done to anybody that's dated a Kardashian? He's gone to hell.
Is it Chloe, the oldest one? She had a string of NBA players. Lamar Odom, Tristan Thompson. There's a couple of them. As soon as she got done with them, their careers went to shit.
I am so happy. By the way, that's Kevin Winter. The other guy's Mike Wise. I'm Ed Berliner. For those of you listening here on the audio podcast to the fastest show in sports, don't forget, catch us on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. Okay. Just had to get the quick business in there.
That was good. That was nice.
I will say this much. I'm glad I don't know a single thing about the Kardashians. I'm thrilled that I have no idea. I know one of them dated Lamar Odom. That's all I know. I don't know what happened.
And he almost overdosed after that. Yeah.
Yes.
And then what's his name? Chris Humphries married Kim Kardashian for a week or something with the Nets. Guy was never heard from again. He couldn't even show up in the G League. It's unbelievable. Didn't Ben Simmons date one of them too?
Yes, he got Kylie. He got the youngest. And then I don't know if she just completely ended his career, but his career wasn't shit to begin with because then people realized he couldn't shoot, and and so that was the end of that.
They are man eaters, damn it.
The only one who did really well in the relationship game was Chris when she married Bruce, and
look what happened there. Look what happened there.
The perfect time. There you go. The perfect moment for everything to bail out at that point.
Yep.
I want to go back to what.
Mic drop.
But I want to go back. Please, God, let's get off the Kardashians. I want to. Let's get off the Kardashians, so to speak. But in that sense, I want to go back to what Mike said, where he's talking about why do we give people what they want, and why do talk shows like this or ESPN or Fox Sports or anything? Because it makes money. I mean, that's why you'll get a lot of NFL draft, because it draws in the sponsors who want to see the clicks, who want to see the ratings. It's the same thing as the NCAA men's basketball tournament, now the women's basketball tournament that's getting it. That's the reason we overload them with stuff, and that's the reason why we don't have things like Outside the Lines with Bob Lee anymore, because people don't give a shit. I mean, they don't want to hear about controversies. They don't want to hear about great stories. We can try to tell the great stories as much as we can, but for the most part, the places like an ESPN and others, they just want to make sure that whatever they put out there makes money. Mike, the reason we're giving people what they want is because it makes them a buck. That's it.
I was asking a producer at ESPN Radio. I said, why are we leading every segment after the NFL season? Why are we leading every segment of every top of the hour with an NFL story every day? The NFL season is, I get during the season. I get it. When the season is done, why are you doing it?
Because there's no season done anymore, Kev.
I get that. And he said, because the record shows, the ratings show when we talk NFL, the ratings go up. I just put my head down because I get sick of now. It's not what that's fine, but the problem is we now take that, Mike, and we break it down. It's not just NFL. If you talk Dallas Cowboys, if you talk Aaron Rodgers, there's like 4 hot button topics in the NFL that spike the ratings. So every day, when I was working at ESPN, I'd get a flash from my boss and says, "Hey, Aaron Rodgers did this today." I went, "I'm not putting it in SportsCenter. Sorry, not doing it."
See, and that's why you're on this podcast now, Kevin.
Correct. That's why the contract didn't get renewed.
No, you're right. Like
you refuse to suck up to the overlords, Winter.
Nope.
Yeah, you beat the system, damn it. You beat the system. Ed's paying you more than they'll ever pay you.
That's very true. That's very true. Thanks so much, Mike.
I think you make a great point, which is basically that we've got it. Our culture, it doesn't matter whether it's top 40, ESPN, or whatever. We've just got into this thing where we play the hits. We play the hits, and that's all we do. And at some point, it's like it's oversaturation. And, there's a few people like, I don't know, like my friends, Kornheiser hates me, but Wilbon and I go back. Like some people, their personalities trump the content. They can pretty much get away with anything.
Yes.
But, Stephen A. But Stephen A. has gotten to a place, whatever you think about him, $10 million a year, ESPN has shown you where they want to put their money.
Just because the guy makes a lot of money doesn't mean he's any good. Stephen A. Smith sucks. He's one of the worst things to happen to sports broadcasting in the last 10 years, without question.
See, I'm gonna defend Stephen A., but that's another show.
Okay. That will be another show because I put him in the same boat as Pat McAfee. They're both right there. And McAfee's another one that we need to discuss.
McAfee's like,
but is it their fault?
But is it their fault? But if you're gonna talk about giving people what they want, McAfee is a guy who has given people what they want. They want this guy sitting there in a wife beater T-shirt, basically being the clown and basically being the tough guy and pushing out all the bullshit and throwing out all the rumors, and that's what they want. And you have that part of the audience, that male 18 to 35, who absolutely goes nuts for McAfee because he's one of those guys. Oh, McAfee just gets out there and he gets into it, and McAfee tells it like it is and tells everybody what he really thinks.
Hang on, Ed. Ed, you want to know what it is?
It's nonsense.
It's when I joined ESPN 20 years ago. It's everything they stood against. There were standards and practices.
Sure.
And we didn't necessarily have that, but we had standards. You could not do a story unless the story was actually up on a newswire, right? The story had to be vetted. Now, on a show like that, they don't give a shit about the vetting. They say
the other side of this is
and apologize later.
And I'll bet you Mike will agree with this too. There used to be a time when in sports, again, we're going back, it seems like we're going back decades, but it's not that long ago, where you would have to verify a source. You would have to, okay, I heard this story. Yeah. Where'd you hear it from? I got this. Look, when I got in the business, you had to have 2 verifications for every single story, at least 2. I had a news director who pushed me to 3 at one time to back it up. But now, and ESPN is the one that started this. ESPN has learned. A source tells ESPN. It is absolute, complete, and utter bullshit, because what they'll do now is they will go to a website, they'll see somebody throw up a rumor or one quick line, and they'll go, hey, wait, look, okay, see right here, okay, ESPN has learned such and such. They don't bother to check because it's all about making sure they're first.
You're right. No, you guys are right. I broke. I'll toot my own horn for a minute, but when Michael Jordan retired for the second time, and I was at the New York Times covering the NBA, there was a friend who worked for CNN, but she worked in Chicago, and she had a hairdresser that told her, I heard Michael's going to retire tomorrow. I go, really? I go, that's just, And so I finally got it. I don't feel like I'm going to out him now because he might have retired. Tim Hallam was the PR director, and I knew Tim for a long time. And I said, Tim, I go, I'm just going to ask you one question, and you just have to say yes or no. Is Michael Jordan going to retire tomorrow? And he just had this pause, and he goes, I can't, I'm not going to tell you anything. Even if it was, I go, Tim, I'm going to count to 10. If at 10 you are still on the phone, then there is a press conference tomorrow, meaning Michael Jordan is retiring. And like, I literally did the whole, whatever, all the president's men thing.
You did. I was just going to say you did exactly what all the president's men did. Same thing.
And he got to 10, and it was still on the phone. I go, thank you. And he goes, you got your story, click. And he was all angry. Now, this is the great part, though. You'll love this part.
Are we clear?
Editor, Neil Amder of the New York Times, and I said, hey, Neil, I go, look, I got this. Michael Jordan's retiring. We got this. This is all over A1. And he's like, it sounds like a great story. You didn't get him to say he was. No, but I did all the president's men thing. And he goes, no, you need one other source. You need one. I could not get a single person in Jordan's camp, anybody else, at 10 at night, no, maybe 11 at night for the second edition of the Times. I called David Stern at home because he said, never call him home. And I said, David, are you getting on a plane? I'm sorry to bother you late. Are you getting on a plane tomorrow to be at Michael Jordan's second retirement? He goes, yes, and don't ever fucking call me again this late. Click. I'm like, yeah.
Well, but okay, you won because at least he said.
Would have been on the wire now. That story would have been on the wire as soon as somebody told me their hairdresser said Michael Jordan was retiring.
Yeah.
As soon as he told you, though, don't ever call me again this late, you win because at least David Stern said, don't ever call me again. Click, hang up the phone.
Yeah.
But it's all rumor based now. And that's
hang on, I
why.
want to go back to can I go back to your point real quick about when you say ESPN has learned? One thing, Ed, that ESPN doesn't like doing anymore, and it's a reason they gave Adrian Wojnarowski all the money. It's a reason they got Shams to replace Woj. ESPN hates giving credit to other people.
Exactly.
Meaning, if someone else got the story, it used to just be Mike Wise. According to Mike Wise from the New York Times, Michael Jordan is going to retire tomorrow, this time for good from the NBA. It's now ESPN has learned, or ESPN has confirmed that
there you go.
Michael Jordan is retiring. Maybe in that same graph, in that same lead, first reported by Mike Wise of the New York Times. But you're not getting the credit for it as much as they used to, because ESPN hates that.
Well, not only that, but I don't think the fan cares anymore where it comes from, because we are so loaded with the internet and the various platforms and all the different websites and what happens on X and what happens on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok now. If somebody hears it, look, it just happened this week where there was something about the U.S. economy that popped on X, that everything was going to be settled. Donald Trump was going to start creating some discussion with other nations about tariffs. It was an X from somebody who barely had a few hundred followers. Somebody else picked it up. CNBC picked it up. Boom! Stock market went through the ceiling. But nobody checked the source.
I mean, this will be the non-vetting. I always say the greatest thing about the internet is it gives everybody a platform. The worst thing about the internet is it gives everybody a platform. Yes. Some people should not be, some people should not be magnified. Some people shouldn't even be on air. But the bottom line is, like, the fact that it started that way, that would have never happened years ago. And the fact that we're there and we have all this technology and we have the ability to like I would have paid to like go to Facebook and I've been trying to find a guy for 2 years for a story. Boom, he's got a Facebook page. You can email him now. But, we would go through like tons of old articles to find out where his mom lived. But nowadays you can find a way. It's crazy. It's insane. And the flip side is this. I tried an experiment on a radio show I did in Washington about 13 years ago. And I heard Ben Roethlisberger. I told everybody on the radio show, I'm going to show you how bad journalism is, guys. I'm just going to say on the radio, I'm going to put on my Twitter account, Roethlisberger's going to get four games, and I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know, but I'll just say Ben Roethlisberger going to get 4 games. I'm told. Boom, that'll be my tweet, and I guarantee you, nobody will call the team, nobody will call his agent. Nobody will call. Major news organizations will put this up on the Miami Herald led with it, and of course I got suspended for a month because I used my Washington Post Twitter account. But nonetheless, it backfired badly on me. But but the initial thing was, wait a minute, like CNN led their sports page with it.
Because what they want is when it's out there, if we don't report it and if we don't jump on it, then we're late. And we've got to be the first ones to get it. We don't want to be late, so we don't want to take a chance because, hey, Mike could be right. Let's get it out there. Instead of saying that, something to the effect of, there are reports out, unconfirmed. See, here's another thing you don't hear anymore. There are unconfirmed reports that are floating around social media right now that such and such, such and such. Well, why even mention it? If you can't verify it, you don't even mention it because it could be bullshit.
Kevin's right. It's almost like we're in a stage where you have...
Oh, man, right when he said I was right, he drops out.
Well, but that's the whole point. He did it specifically. But this comes down again to, and I do want to go back to Pat McAfee. Okay. Because this has been grinding on me now for several days. I wrote a long column about it on Substack and talked about it as well with Pat McAfee. I sincerely hope that this young lady and her family sue the bejesus out of Pat McAfee and ESPN. Now, ESPN probably has a little bit of a cushion there because they always have basically the language which says what the hosts say is theirs. We're not responsible for it. I get that.
They got a disclaimer about across McAfee's
right.
show.
They throw the disclaimer up there, but everybody knows the disclaimer is only there for legal reasons. They're right behind McAfee because if McAfee says something outrageous and he gets clicks, they're the ones who succeed and they're the one who makes money. I hope that they sue him. I hope that they make money. I hope that they stop this. I hope that Pat McAfee becomes the pariah that something like this deserves, because as I mentioned in my column, where I talked about McAfee and a guy named Doug Vaughn who works for a radio station in St. Louis, who basically was part of the piling on, both of these guys have daughters.
That was the part of Katie Strang of The Athletic wrote the piece, and it was and she did a great job because she essentially, she didn't just listen to that part. There were before. As the segment was going on before it, McAfee had this really nice little anecdote about, my daughter brought me to tears because of this, and then he goes on about that crap, and it's just, it's over the top. It's wrecking someone's life. It's sick, and you talk about diminishing the credibility,
and it's unnecessary.
Adam Schefter was on the set. And you could tell he was he was cringing. And I'm not, whatever you think of Schefter, he's a newsmaker. He's there to do what he does. He doesn't need to be part of that. Why put him in the middle of that? It just diminishes your brand so much, and they'll do it all in the name of clicks. They'll do it all in the name of this is revenue sharing here.
Well, but this also goes back to the guy talk radio syndrome that started a long time ago. When sports talk radio was not about sports, I lost my appeal for sports talk radio when I'm driving down a main highway in Fort Lauderdale one day and I turn on 940, which is WINZ, which at the time called themselves 940 The Sports Animal. And here's an afternoon show. The hosts are live at the porn conference in Miami Beach, at the Miami Beach Convention Center, and they are live and they are talking about anal sex.
Okay.
On a sports show from the porn convention. That was it. I called a friend of mine who worked there at the time, and I said, go ahead.
The guys were the sports announcers were having sex with
no,
other people?
No, thank God. I hope that wouldn't be happening because I wouldn't want to see that. But they were at the porn convention, and they were talking with a young woman there who was extolling the virtues of anal sex. And they're laughing and they're having a good time about it on a sports show. I mean, that lost it. And I've never gone back to that station. I was offered a job at that station a couple of years after that, and I turned it down. I said, I'm not working for you people. You throw this stuff on the air?
Do you have their number? Because I'd love to work.
Why is he just bucking for a job? He'll use this to get a job just about anywhere, man. for any place that it goes. I mean,
Ed, wasn't that about the time where sports radio was? How much and how close to the line can you become Howard Stern's show on a sports station? Because
absolutely.
it was like you said it right. It was guy talk radio, not sports talk radio. You use sports talk radio as the veneer, as the mask.
Well, this is another show, but the whole manosphere thing, it's amplified by all that crap. And I definitely lean left. But the whole, I could go off on it right now, but it really bothers me on so many levels. When I knew what sports talk radio was when I listened to Mad Dog and Mike in the morning. You know those guys, Kevin. And they were kind of an institution in New York, as you know, Ed. But I just remember one day, it could have been 25 years ago, Princess Diana died, and all of a sudden they came into the studio, Mike and the Mad Dog, and it's and Chris Russo's like, Mikey, I'm very upset this morning. I'm very upset. I'm like, what's wrong, dog? What's wrong?
What's wrong, doggy?
Terrible impersonation. Terrible.
Yeah, it is a terrible impersonation. What's wrong, dog? What's wrong? Mikey. They shredded the letters. Mikey, they shredded the letters. They shredded the letters that people put out in front of Buckingham Palace for Diana. They shredded the letters, Mikey. And all of a sudden you hear this pause, and Francesca goes, "It's a bad job by the monarchy. Bad job by the monarchy." What?
Yeah, but then again, you have to realize you're talking about Mike Francesa, who believes he knows absolutely everything about everything. And has never been wrong in his life. At least he's never been wrong in his life on the air when he's awake. I mean, that is the second thing to consider.
Yeah, he's falling asleep. Yeah.
But what it is all about is you can have some fun with it. It's like on this show, I told you guys before we started, I don't care where we go with it. We can talk about anything because, you can talk about the goofy stuff that happens in life, and you can have some fun with it. Yeah. And I'll not be afraid to say this. Dan Lebitard does a great job at it. I mean, with his show and the people that he's put together, they talk about stuff that's completely off sports, but it's not harmful. You're not sticking anybody. You're not destroying somebody's life like McAfee did, like others will. And most of it is based on a sexual preference that goes on with guy talk radio, where years ago it was making fun of the size of a woman's breasts, talking about a woman and how easy she could be, talking about, hey, come on, let's go out and get some babes tonight. We'll get some drinks and do this. They all did that on radio. I stayed away from it. It's frankly, it's what cost me gigs in radio at the time because I wouldn't do it. I sat across the desk from the program director at WQAM in Miami, and we were talking about my doing a show with them. And he then decided to bring into it what it would entail. You got to talk about this. And gee, Ed, we don't talk about sports all the time.
Wait, what?
And we talk about guy things. And I looked at him, I said, are you telling me that I'm going to have to talk about things that could absolutely hurt somebody someday or be really nasty? Well, you got to realize our audience. I stood up and I said, thank you very much. I'm out of here.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, we just.
No, never mind. Yeah, that's why I let Mike go. I wasn't sure if we had to say, hang on. WIP was like that. I called WIP when I would think I was about a year or two removed from Hofstra. I called WIP in Philadelphia. I talked to the program director there. Oh. They had an opening for a sports anchor. I said, hey, I would like to do it. He says, well, Kevin, just to let you know, we're a little different up here. I said, what do you mean? He says, we don't always talk sports, so just be ready. He says, how old are you? I said, I'm 20. I said, I'm 23. He says, I'm not sure you're ready for what we're going to send you. He says, you may think you are because he says, I think I might have doing some freelance stuff at ESPN at the time. He says, I've heard you. You're good. He says, but I'm not sure you're ready for the environment we're about to send you in.
Because it was ruthlessly cruel.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Well,
only word I can think of.
Philly Sports Talk Radio is vicious, but I just want to salute you, Ed, for being such a principled guy. You basically killed this podcast and show with one quote that you're somehow above doing the police stuff. You have just ruined our careers and the fastest show in sports.
Wow.
just going to let that sit. Look, like I said, you can be critical. You can be critical. You can be pissed off at somebody. You can talk about it, certain things, but don't destroy somebody's life.
No,
that's the only thing.
And
but that goes back to. I think. No, Mike, go. You have good internet. Go.
No, I'm just gonna say when you become a dad, and I didn't become a dad till 46. It does change your outlook in my book. I mean, it just you sort of start to think my kids are going to find out what I did originally, eventually, and it's not like I have to do incredible things and save the world, but I do want to leave the place thinking I made it a little better, and those a lot of those jobs don't. They just don't.
Well, but that's the point I made about Doug Vaughn and Pat McAfee when I asked them both, and I did an investigation piece on it and wrote it and recorded it, and it's out there and it's getting a tremendous amount of views on YouTube. But I said to both of them, how are you going to talk to your daughters? You got one that's a 2-year-old kid who's going to grow up and one day she'll hear about this, and the other one you got a daughter. You basically just went after a woman's reputation. You destroyed her. You called her a slut, basically, and you basically told everybody that the rumor, the lie, that you're sleeping with a boyfriend's father, you did this. And now you got to explain it to your daughter. I want to be there for that conversation. I want to hear that.
Yeah.
And I don't know quite how they do that.
Doesn't a lot of this go to one of the things about journalism, Mike, was you had to go through some of the fires and the pitfalls as a young journalist. And then you get to the point where you actually know how to vet shit out and you can do it on your own. Well, you think, we're dealing with guys these days. We give platforms to people. Stephen A. Smith is not like that. And I like Stephen A. Smith. He was always great to me, so I'm not going to say a bad word about him. But you brought that up earlier.
Okay.
But for McAfee, you've got a guy who they basically said, your YouTube show is outrating everything we do on our network. You're already part of Game Day. We're going to give you money. His response was, then give me my show and give it to me uninterrupted for 3 hours. And you gave that away. You sold your soul because you needed his ratings.
Well, but see, that's just it. They sold their soul for Stephen A. Smith because of the ratings factor, because you get the clicks factor, which means sponsors. Look, that hasn't changed.
According to my sources, pesto and marinara, Allen Iverson has been disrespected again. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. The bad Stephen A.
Well, no, it's actually pretty close to what is reality there. Look, I coined this phrase a long time ago. I called it contrived controversy. And that's really what Stephen A. lives on, because he just basically gets pissed and angry at things. But he's not the only one. I mean, it happens across the board in sports talk radio. But look, people like it. That's all that counts. Before we get out of here, anything else that's sitting on anybody's mind here before we close things out? And I
know we had 10 years to figure this shit out. And, this is the best we came up with. I like it.
Well, wait, we started with college basketball, and we moved on. It's okay, That's the whole point of it.
We actually picked up. So the night COVID hit, and the night the NBA shut down. I have Sean Kelly, who's now the voice of the Gators, and Bob Valvano. We're doing the second round of the ACC tournament, and I break into their game, telling them that that Adam Silver has just shut the NBA down. Well, a year later, we're on that same night. It's the Wednesday night, second round. We're back up and running. Everything I said, it was a year ago that we've done that we shut the world down. And Bob Valvano picks up the scene and said, he says to Sean Kelly, so as I was saying about Virginia's defense, it was absolutely perfect. I feel like that's what we just did here after this show. So as we were saying, like we were talking about a few years ago.
That's a good point. No, I think we're going to have fun. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
It's the whole thing where I guess the reason I brought the show back was just so we can have some fun with it. I mean, it's fun to do. It's fun to talk about sports. It's fun to note that I'm not a fan of college basketball at a time when college basketball runs the roost. I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that the Masters begins this week, and the people in Augusta are all talking about, you have no idea what terrible condition the course is in, how the hurricane destroyed us, how we are no longer going to be what we were. Augusta is not going to be the same. I
Hello,
don't give
Fred.
a shit. There's a lot of people that got hurt in Hurricane Helene, including some very good friends of mine who are still recovering. So I really don't give a damn if your golf course took a hit because of the tremendous amount of money that they have at Augusta. You could fix that golf course in a year. Just spend the money.
Yeah, there's sports angst and there's real angst in life, and hopefully we will chafe that barrier and not be too high and mighty about something that we're angry about in sports. Although, God, Kelvin Sampson is a bad game coach.
You've been waiting on that one, haven't you? What?
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault.
Well, it might have been, but the guys that he recruited, I mean, you give a 12-point lead back in the second half, and you're doing it by jacking up 20-footers with time on the clock. It's all inside basketball, but it's like there's a way to, like, hopefully, if not preserve the lead, hold on. They just gave them the game back with the way they played. They were just stupid. It was just really bad. It was hard to watch as a basketball.
But Mike, what you're talking about is exactly what one of the issues is in college basketball. There is no inside game anymore. It's, you know,
hang on.
You talk about popping up 20-footers, and that's all the game is these days. How good are you from three-point? How many guys sit there and back up to the three-point line and get past it? They're good at it. I'm not going to knock it because they're so good at it, but there is no inside game anymore.
There's two aspects of basketball. The inside game is not there unless you have a layup. The name of the game, according to the analytics, and by the way, I do not subscribe to this. Just please know this because I'm a basketball purist. I love this game growing up. Basketball is 3-point shots or layup. And the layups meaning not low post moves like you're talking about on an inside game. Low post, it's layups or dunks or 3-point shot. Analytics have told all these coaches every other shot on the floor is meaningless. If you're going to take a jump shot, take it from three and get that extra point.
Well, but that's because the 3-point shot has become easy. I mean, that's another thing too, Mike. When you talk about guys throwing up 20-footers, it's easy. 20-footers are nothing anymore.
Well, it's Kevin's right. There was a moment I was covering the 2000.
He likes when you say that.
I do.
2017 NBA Finals, and I remember Kevin Durant like on the wing for the Warriors, and he's like right there for a layup dunk, and Steph Curry's on the left side, on the left wing, crossing half court, and Kevin Durant goes,
"Yeah, he'll kick it out. He'll Durant. How many layups do we see these days?
It defied everything you and I knew about. Yeah.
Yeah, but that might be the difference.
Everything you and I grew up with about basketball.
The thing about basketball, maybe, and again, I know I'm probably here's the old guy, get off my lawn kind of shit. But I mean, I'd like to see some inside game. That's what I miss when everything is just drive deep, kick out, 3-pointer. Drive deep, kick out, 3-pointer. To me, it's boring. I mean, luckily the game we saw was not boring, but to me, the constant backing up past the 3-point line is dull.
When you say inside game, are you missing like a McHale or an Abdul-Jabbar to go that far back? Like
yes.
just something. Okay, guys who had moves in the post.
Right, guys who had skills in the post, guys who actually knew how to work the post, and guys who knew how to work from the foul line into the basket.
Well, yeah, Kevin Garnett, Pau Gasol, they had some nice post game. Shaq was a really underrated passer. Out of the double team, he'd find guys all the time. It's funny, those guys, their jobs would be almost legislated out of basketball now. If you were just a pure big man and you weren't what they call a stretch five, you couldn't, you couldn't shoot from 20 or 30. You're a limited player. You're not a complete big man. You're looked at as a limited player, and that's a shame because you're right, Ed. That the post position, the pivot was part of basketball that made the machine run. The whole sublime choreography of teamwork bullshit. It works when you have the right pieces.
But again, what's going to happen is you'll hear what I just said and what you just added, and there's going to be a portion of the audience out there that will say, "Shut up, old man. Come on, the game changes." and you have to admit, sure, every game changes and every game becomes a different game. Every sport that we will ever talk about has changed from when we were kids and teenagers, every game. But that's okay. It's supposed to change. Yeah. It's supposed to evolve. I don't have to like it, but the game is what it is. So when you blame Sampson for the players that he recruits, didn't he recruit them for a certain reason? And did they not basically deliver, except for maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes at the end of the game?
Yeah. I mean, look, you get a step from a national title, fine. But I don't know. He's like.
It's happened to Sampson before. It has. And I like Kelvin, but he's not. The end of game has hurt him before. And it was one reason I bet against. Is one reason I bet against him last night. Because
you think he's not good at the end of the games. But I mean, what was Sampson supposed to do? In that he turns the kids loose, they know what's at stake. They've got the ball. How many seconds were left when they brought the ball in bounds on that
19.7 after the free throw. 19.7.
20 seconds. That's an interminable amount of time. In
and I didn't think they were going for the three right away. I just thought Florida's defense did a good job of cutting them off, of getting.
They did a great job.
Because again, your options are in today's day and age of basketball. You either drive to the hole, or you set up for a three. There's no mid-range jump shot. In fact, you try to take a mid-range jump shot in today's day and age to win the game, you get crucified.
Sure.
Because most likely you're going to miss it. So I didn't think they were going for the three right away. And then you realize, all right, well, now they have no choice. You got to go for the three.
Because I guess it's another one of the things that always bothers me about sports like this is when somebody will say, well, you see Houston, they choked. Bullshit. Florida played great defense on that last play. Florida did a great job shutting them off.
Yeah,
and stopping the drive down the side. I mean, come on.
Not ready for that.
I'm just going to be biased. I hate Kelvin Sampson only because he looks more miserable than me most days. And so if you're that miserable, I just go ahead, lose the game, damn it.
Hey, just let me know you're going to do it, though. I want to make sure I got the money on the right side.
See, I knew it was going to come down to gambling. Why? But here's the thing. Mike, did you have a bet on the game last night? Did you have a bet on the game last night?
Well, no, I didn't. But I was in a couple pools. The Duke loss knocked me out, but I was in a couple pools. I don't think I spent more than $150 on pools this year, so I didn't really put any money on any games.
Mike,
we'll have a sports gambling show, and I'll tell you how Mr. Sports Writer for the New York Times and Washington Post ESPN thought he was so good, and he won a few $1,000s, and he was going to win hundreds of thousands. And then all of a sudden, his wife found out he lost 31 days. But anyway, that's another story.
Mike,
that was pretty much the end of it.
Mike, I'm going to count to 10. And by the time I reach, I'm going to count down from 10. By the time I reach 1, I want you to answer yes or no if you had a bet on the NCAA championship game.
I don't even have to go to 10. No, I did not have a bet on that game.
Okay.
I should have.
Ready for this, Mike? Mike, you ready for this? I had Houston to win the first half, Florida to win the game.
Oh, baby! How much did you have?
I had 40 to win 300.
Oh, that's great, man.
So it was nice. You won $300, which you'll give back in your next bet.
Yep.
Guess what, Ed? We just monetized this show without even knowing. Kevin's going to give us winners, and he's going to give our audience winners, and it's going to take them the whole damn show to not find out about it.
Welcome to the Kevin Winter Gambling Show, ladies and gentlemen, where the redhead will be throwing us picks.
Hang on. Hold up. You ready for this?
No,
I was looking at this when you said it because I forgot about the Masters.
Oh, Christ.
Ed, they're not picks. They're stone cold locks, damn it.
That's right. I have to remember my marketing. Thanks, Mike.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Ludwig Aberg plus 1,800. Take him to win the Masters. Ludwig Aberg plus 1,800. Bet 100, win 1,800.
And who is Ludwig Aberg?
Ludwig Aberg to win the Masters, Mike Wise. Ludwig Aberg.
And who is Ludwig Aberg?
Is he German?
Swedish.
No, He's Italian. What do you think?
Oh, my gosh.
He's a good golfer, and right now he's the sixth best favorite.
Ludwig, I mean, that's such a dark horse because I've never heard of him, and I don't follow golf enough. But you know what? If that came true, and that was part of the clip next week, oh my gosh!
Yeah, no,
this thing would
not
take
gonna
off.
happen. Not gonna. Mike, where can people find you on social media? for those who have stuck by to the end of this show, which is about maybe 6 people.
At Mike Wise Guy on Twitter or X, whatever the hell they call it, and Blue Sky. And then I think it's Mike Wise 319 on Facebook and Mike Wise 319 on Instagram.
Oh, so yeah, Blue Sky, you're one of the 6 people still left on Blue Sky.
Yeah, I went there to get more calm intellectual back and forth, and with me there is none, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's okay. Threads and Blue Sky are dead.
Yeah.
Threads and Blue Sky.
At Kevin P. Winter on Twitter. At Kevin P. Winter.
Okay, but but it's not. But there is no such thing as Twitter.
Yeah, it does. Fuck Elon Musk.
Yeah. There it is. Right. That's it. The one shot. We promised ourselves we were going to stay away from politics, but Winter's the one that's got to blow the whole gig right here and get us in all kinds of trouble. We'll all be gone next week. By Thursday, when we try to do a second show, we'll all be arrested and sent to El Salvador.
I'm going to be deported for saying that.
I mean, give them like 3 episodes till they find out we're leftist social engineers that need to be shot. Okay?
Don't forget now on YouTube, you can go to, so we get everything here. Go to YouTube, and it is, the show is at the Fastest Show in Sports. If you want to go to the YouTube channel and see the whole thing, send us an email, fastestshowinsports@gmail.com, because I'll let Gmail take the cost of it. I'm not going to pay for it. And if you want to do the podcast, of course, and most of you are listening here, it's iTunes, Amazon, all the places you get your podcast and many more. Just look for the Fastest Show in Sports.
Yeah, I'm looking at that bottom bar. You got a lot of those places. Good for you, man.
What's easy? You put up a podcast. You put up a podcast now. It's everywhere. There's like 37 different platforms. Bang! All of a sudden you're
again. Back to what we were saying. Don't need to get anything vetted. Just put it up there, and the internet's gonna run with it, baby.
And there's only just shh. Don't tell anybody. There's only like 3 platforms to really get any audience.
Yeah.
There's about 3, and I'm not going to say which ones because the other ones will kick us off.
And the show comes full circle.
Nice job. Thanks, guys.
If we get iHeart to give us money, oh my God, we'll blow up. I'm telling you.
You think iHeart's going to give us money?
No, I don't. But
are you high?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you been imbibing?
No, but I dream about Delilah sometimes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, good Lord. Yes.
Gentlemen, thanks a lot. I'm Ed Berliner. This is the Fastest Show in Sports for Mike Wise and Kevin Winter. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it all again. Rock on, true believers.